So the first one is actually the most nerdy of them all. It is an Ernie Ball Musician's Toolkit. So I've literally worn this thing out. Here I have it with me. This is not just for like repairing guitars. So if you have a damaged guitar, of course you're gonna want to get something like this. But even if you're just a regular guitar player, this is like the most useful thing that I probably own, because time and time again, if I need to make a truss rod adjustment on either my acoustic or my electric guitar, I've got plenty of tools available. There goes something now, just fell out of the bag. I've got it unzipped here. It looks like a mess. I'm missing a few items because I have them in cups here on my desk. But as you can see, you pretty much get everything that you could ever need. There's all sorts of tools used for changing your strings, for checking the string height or the action on your guitar. I can't recommend this thing enough. If you're a person that has a junk drawer at home and that junk drawer just has like a few screwdrivers and random pieces in it, it's nice just to have this where you can put all of your guitar related things. So the Ernie Ball Musician's Toolkit, definitely check it out, especially at this price point. All right, next thing sort of related to the Musician's Toolkit is this piece from Music Nomad. So typically I have this sitting on my desk and it has all of my screwdrivers. It has a little glass slide in it, another glass slide as well. Sometimes I'll put picks in here. So at the top of it, there is an opening so you can have this sitting on your desk. You can put things like I've got it in here. But when you need to be using it for like restringing your guitar, you can essentially take these items out, you flip it over on your desk, and then what you have is essentially something that you can hold the neck of your guitar in place. And then as it holds your guitar nice in place, it doesn't make any like scratching, because you know when you're changing your strings, you really want to protect the neck and the headstock as much as possible. So check this thing out. It's nice and soft, but yet rigid, so you can put all sorts of things in there as well. Next on my list is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. This is rather expensive, but this is by far the most popular audio interface on Amazon, and for good reason. This is an awesome audio interface, and if you're getting into recording and you don't know how to record music on your own, I've got tons of tutorials here on my channel of how to use items like the Scarlett 2i2, but essentially what it lets you do is you can plug in either two microphones or two guitars, or you can plug in one guitar and one microphone, and you'll be able to record the music that you're playing onto your computer. Now, it seems expensive, but trust me, when it comes to audio interfaces, I have so many of different quality. I recently put out a video here on this Sonito audio interface. This Sonito Solo, it costs like a sixth of the price of this, but I can tell you there is definitely a difference. So beware of products that are too affordable, something maybe like this, because I don't know what the long-term impact is going to be of this, but I can definitely recommend the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It's a USB-C device. It needs to be plugged into a USB-C port on your computer, but it does everything that you need when it comes to recording. Can't recommend the Scarlett 2i2 enough. Next on the list is this ABY pedal from Fender. I actually picked this up at a Goodwill, which is like a secondhand store local in the area, and it seemed like it was in like brand new condition, and it's been working just great. So one thing about the ABY pedal you may not understand, they actually have this on the back of the device, but you don't have to just use two instruments with this pedal. So there's two different configurations. You can either use multiple instruments or you can use multiple amps with this pedal. So in my situation, typically I go from playing like an acoustic guitar, sometimes I play the electric guitar, but I want to use the same pedal board. If I want to use my same tuner, but I don't want a distortion pedal with my acoustic guitar, I will use this switch to basically change the path so that my acoustic guitar is not going to my electric guitar amp. I want my acoustic guitar to go straight to the console, the DI box. I want my electric guitar to go to my amp so I can use an ABY switch. But also a common use of this is to have two amps. So if you are in a situation where you want to switch between two different amplifiers, depending on what the song is, or you want to switch between two different sets of pedals, use an ABY switch. Or if you're in a situation where you have one amp or one output, like going to your mixer, you can use this if you are somebody that's switching instruments all the time. So an ABY switch from Fender, check it out. All right, next, this is pretty self-explanatory. This is a simple volume pedal from Ernie Ball. I've had different volume pedals over the years and I just keep going back to the Ernie Ball. Now this one is currently on stage at our church. I use this volume pedal all the time because when I'm changing guitars or if I'm walking off stage, I really just don't want to have any volume. Yes, you do have a volume knob on your guitar, like your electric guitar or your acoustic guitar, but this is, to me, this is the ultimate kill switch. It really makes sure that I don't have any popping. There's no sort of like loud explosions happening on stage. I know that when this thing is off, everything is off. And what's great about these two is they have a specific tuner output. So even though the volume pedal is turned off, you can still tune your guitar without having to reach over to the tuner pedal. It just leaves your tuner pedal on all the time, and then you can tune as needed. Next, I got a couple of Boss pedals to recommend to you. For some reason, just the aesthetic or maybe nostalgia, I really reach for Boss pedals a lot. They're not the only pedals I've ever had, but always go back to Boss. So first up is this loop pedal. It does exactly what it sounds like. It loops. Now, what I like about this one is the feedback you get from this circle on the screen. There's been instances where my wife and I have been playing live outdoors downtown. We go through several songs that have a lot of looping, and it's just nice to be reminded of where I'm at within the loop. You'll see the circles start to add up. You can add multiple layers as you're going, and then it's got plenty of inputs and outputs for you to be able to use this effectively. Next is just the Boss tuner pedal. This is the TU3. It's just a standard tuner pedal. I've had the Peterson Strobo Stomp HD tuner pedal. I'm not saying that this is the most accurate tuner pedal that's out there, but it is by far the easiest one to use when it comes to live. I really like when it gets into the middle of the screen. This is just really elementary of me, but when it locks in on the tuning and you get that confirmation of the two lights locking in place, it just feels good and it works just fine. Boss TU3. Now, when it comes to your guitar pedals, typically you want to put them on some sort of board. And so I have a couple of recommendations. So this has been a go-to for quite some time. This is the Nano Plus from Pedal Train. Pedal Train is like I guess the original of when it comes to pedal boards. There's so many options out there. I have had friends in the past who have made pedal boards for me, but nothing quite holds up just like a standard piece of whatever this might be. I don't want to say that this is aluminum, but it is definitely firm. It's ready to go. It's got some Velcro that I've added to it, so I can just put pedals on as I need to. Just for some perspective, let me switch the cameras here. For some perspective here, this is your standard Boss pedal or what have you. So when you're looking at the Nano Plus, that's about as crooked as it can get. Let me try that again. When you're putting these pedals on, it is essentially made for a Boss pedal. Let's see how many you can get here. There's 2, 3, 4, I'd say about 5 Boss pedals thick. The only downside to something like the Pedal Train Nano Plus is that, like I mentioned earlier, this volume pedal from Ernie Ball, you cannot fit the volume pedal on a pedal board like this. You can definitely get away with the ABY switcher. If you don't put that up in the middle somewhere, you can have this going on, and then you get a few more pedal options available. But the Pedal Train Plus Nano Plus, it comes with this nice little soft gig bag that you can zip up and carry with you. Very nice way to go. If you're in need of something larger, I also have this one from Gator. They currently don't have it available on Amazon, but this one, this Gator case, is the extra large aluminum pedal board. So here is the extra large pedal board from Gator. This one is currently unavailable in white. It's probably just one of the more popular colors. I'm sure you can get it in different colors available, like black. Looks like they have a green and an orange one as well. But as you can see, it's going to get a lot more use out of it than the Nano Plus. It just depends on how many pedals that you have. So going across the bottom, these pedals are typically about the Boss standard size. You can fit about 6 Boss pedals per row, and you can go 2 rows deep. So if you do have the volume pedal from Ernie Ball, you can easily fit this on here. My specific situation, I don't have that big of a pedal board at the moment, but I'm also not doing a lot of like live gigging. I'm pretty much stationary. So I lead worship at my church. I can get by with the Nano Plus. It allows me to bring some pedals home for when I'm doing some recording. And then when I'm going off to the church, I can just grab the Nano Plus. This one also has a space at the bottom. So if you're looking for a power supply solution, like this is one from Chalks, you can simply take this and it will fit underneath. You use these little wrenches to basically loosen the wing nut, and you can fit your power supply underneath, run them through the holes, and you can power your guitar. So this one is definitely an extra large solution. Not for everybody, but it does come with a gig bag, so that is also a plus as well. All right, next on my list is the LR Baggs Lyric Acoustic Guitar Microphone. Now, this is not a quote-unquote pickup, but what it does do, I absolutely love this pickup. Back in 2013, I bought this Martin OM21, and before I walked out of the store, I was very quick to have them install this pickup. So essentially it is a microphone that sits underneath your bridge, and it has a lot of positives going for it, because the fact that it's not one of those like piezo pickups, it doesn't have those destructive qualities that we typically associate with a DI acoustic. It sounds the most natural I've heard any sort of guitar. I also own a Taylor GS Mini. This is my wife's guitar. If I use that live, there's definitely a lot of EQ involved, because to me, personally speaking, as a Martin person, the Taylor guitars don't typically sound like a natural acoustic guitar. They typically have a lot of bright, high end, a lot of low end, but they don't have a lot of mid range. This has a very warm quality to it, but the fact that it's actually a microphone underneath your bridge, it does present a few problems. So there is a high pass filter, basically a tone knob that you can adjust, that's right here on the volume knob. So you can see at the moment I've got this sound hole cover. We'll get to that in just a minute. But typically you want to adjust that so you're not getting a lot of feedback, because the fact that it's a microphone, you can actually hear my voice when I'm speaking when this guitar is plugged in. Now, the way it plugs in is basically just through the strap lock right here. They've drilled a hole, and then I'll plug my guitar straight into there. So when you look at the rest of the guitar, it doesn't have that much destructiveness to it. You don't have to drill anything other than right here at the button. Okay, so cable goes in there, and then you have a simple volume switch at the top where you can adjust your volume. If you are using a sound hole cover, just leave it on 100%, and then when you plug in your guitar, use something like a volume pedal or something to mute before you go into the system. But overall, since 2013, I've been using this thing. I think it sounds phenomenal, because it sounds as close to a microphone as I think you can get when it comes to DI guitars. Next on the list is a guitar stand, and this is probably one of the most bougie things that I own, because all it is really doing is holding my guitars. But what I really like about this thing is that it is made of wood. So it's not flimsy whatsoever, but it holds multiple guitars and basses. And you can see basically on any video you're watching on my channel, you can see it just behind me. Let me get out a shot here. All of my guitars are being held up just behind me, and this is a terrible, terrible shot. But anyway, what I really like about it is that it not only holds like a few acoustic guitars, but I've got 2 electric guitars. I've got my classical nylon string guitar. Typically, I'll have my Martin acoustic guitar and my bass guitar all on one rack. So in one rack, I'm able to get all that space being saved. And it doesn't look so industrial. Like typically with guitar stands, everything's really black, everything's very plasticky. It's just nice to have. So if you're looking for a Christmas gift, I think this will definitely fall into the Christmas gift category. It's nice to have, but again, if you're a musician, you're kind of getting by, trying to pay your bills, not something I would have high on my list, but it is very decorative, and it's just a nice thing to have in your setup. All right, speaking of plastic, you cannot go wrong with a Hercules guitar stand. Great thing about the Hercules guitar stands, we have these all over our stage at the church. They latch onto your guitar as soon as you put weight on them, but please be careful with these, because if you're transporting these stands around, if you're slamming them down on the stage for whatever reason, they will end up breaking, because there's a lot of plastic involved. So you're gonna be spending $50 on this Hercules Auto Grip System guitar stand. It will do the job. Hopefully you leave it in one place, but if you're like tossing it into a closet or you're moving it around a lot, I really wouldn't trust it with your most expensive instruments if you're in that sort of situation. If it's just sitting on the stage 24/7 or in your home studio just behind you, you can't go wrong with a Hercules stand. Definitely check those out. Next on the list, we have these 9-volt battery clips that work for your guitar pedals. So if you have a 9-volt battery, like if you have a guitar case, you should probably get a few Duracell 9-volt batteries and just have them nearby, because if you're using a pickup or a microphone system like I've got with the LR Baggs Lyric, you do need a 9-volt, and you need to have a 9-volt ready to go. Well, in your guitar pedals, you can definitely put a 9-volt inside the pedal, but those tend to die pretty quickly. Anytime this thing is plugged in, if it doesn't have a power supply connected to it, it is going to drain the battery that's inside. So one solution is to go with these external 9-volt battery clips. Now, this shouldn't be like your main go-to way of powering your pedals, but basically you just take a 9-volt battery, like I have this rechargeable one from Ansman here. You snap it on to your guitar tuner, it sits outside of your tuner, and then you power your pedal. Now, the good side of this is that it is probably the most clean way you can go when it comes to powering your pedals. If you're using a daisy chain method or even some external power supplies that are plugged into multiple guitar pedals, you don't know that you're truly isolated. So if you're looking for an isolated solution, or you're somebody in a studio environment and you're only using like one pedal at a time, can't go wrong using these external 9-volt battery clips. And like you've seen, they're not the most expensive things in the world. They'll get the job done. All right, moving right along, I've got these patch cables. These are just some flat cables that I've really enjoyed. I've had these for years and years. They have never failed me. They are right angles and they really just minimally sit on your pedal board. So if you have the Nano Plus, like I was mentioning earlier, you really can't go wrong with these patch cables. They seem to hold up really well. And you can typically, like on Sweetwater or even on Amazon, you can get many of them kind of bundled together. So what they allow you to do is if you're in a pinch, you need your pedals to be close together. Well, with a flat patch cable, you're going to be able to get them closer than they've ever been before. Just neat to have. After the patch cables, there's a couple of guitar cables that I use pretty regularly. These are Mogami Gold cables. So if it comes to Mogami, they are the most expensive cable, or some of the most expensive cables you can get. But again, in a Christmas environment, somebody's looking to gift you something. If you're into recording on a regular basis and you need a microphone cable or a guitar instrument cable, a 1/4-inch cable of quality, can't go wrong with Mogami. It gives me the peace of mind that I know that this cable is most likely not going to go bad on me. I've had many cheaper quality cables before and they have done just fine, but I've also had some that have not done so fine, that have gone bad on me. And there's nothing worse when you're trying to figure out what's going wrong with your setup and you find out in the end it is just your cable. So if you're into this long term and on a regular basis, you're recording guitars or you're playing live, can't go wrong. Just get yourself 1 or 2 of these Mogami cables. All right, which brings me now to these sound hole covers. For years and years, I've seen live performers having these sound hole covers on their acoustic guitars, and I thought it was just kind of counterintuitive. You have an acoustic guitar, don't you want it to resonate? Well, in a live situation, in a recording situation, when you're going direct out of your guitar, you really don't want to pick up any ambient sounds and you don't want to worry about feedback issues. So the feedback happens typically with speakers and monitors, and you really should be thinking that your sound hole on your guitar is essentially a speaker. It is amplifying sound out of this sound hole. But when it comes to recording the guitar in a direct situation, like this microphone that is just beneath my bridge, it can actually pick up the sound of me speaking. It can pick up the sound of me singing, and I don't want that in my DI signal. So I'm using this sound hole cover. And these are not very expensive whatsoever. This one's right now, this pack of 4, it comes in 2 different sizes. So here are the smaller sizes. They are a really thick material. So I used to think when seeing these that they would be more like a pop filter, but this is like dense rubber. This is something you'd see in like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, but it's specifically made for sound hole covers. And then you have the larger ones as well. So if you get this pack, you get 4 of them, 2 larger sizes and 2 smaller sizes. They essentially just fit right into your sound hole cover. They don't prevent your acoustic guitar from making noise. But it really does tame the sound. Like even here in the home studio environment, it sounds so much cleaner. I'm not hearing a lot of the ambient sound because I'm not projecting so much into the room. If I can cut down the volume of what's being projected into my room, I have less to worry about when it comes to reflections within the room. So even if you're in a miking situation and you're miking up your acoustic guitar, you're still not going to go wrong with having a sound hole cover because it is going to tame a lot of that boominess that we typically get from the sound hole. So check those out, and they can obviously be easily removed. You just pull them out whenever you need to. All right, just rounding off the end of this list here, the Ernie Ball guitar strap. You really can't go wrong with it. We got multiples of these just all over the place. What I really like about these is they are very thin, but for good reason. They don't feel so chunky. I've had higher quality cables, ones made with like wool and stuff like that, and it's just too much. They're just too heavy. So using the Ernie Ball basic nylon, I think it's called nylon, Poly Pro guitar strap black. So these guitar straps all over the place all day long. It's the go-to. You really can't beat them, and they do hold up surprisingly well. I don't worry about putting this on my Martin guitar whatsoever. If you do happen to notice it's wearing out, well, just keep an eye on it and you'll be just fine. When it comes to guitar strings, I'm like the least likely person to change my guitar strings unless I notice it's a really big problem. I don't typically break guitar strings. I don't play a lot of heavy music. I'm not trying to break guitar strings, but over time, guitar strings do get dull. I actually tend to like that dulling effect, like brand new strings on an acoustic guitar. To me, it sounds really brittle, sounds really bright. It can be a good situation for sure. But when I do change my guitar strings, I'm always putting on elixirs. I'll either go light or I'll go medium. Next, we have guitar capos. You can't go wrong with a G7 capo, but the differences are this one right here, the G7 capo, it's not conducive for a live performance. So if I'm playing guitar and I'm singing or I'm leading worship, I don't like to deal with this capo because you literally have to use two hands to move the capo into place. Same thing really goes with the D'Addario capo. This is the more affordable version where you twist the knob to set it in place. If you're trying to transition in between songs, capos like this will do a better job of keeping your guitar in tune. They don't squeeze the life out of your guitar. But the Kaiser capos, the ones that are just spring-loaded, you just squeeze them and put them in place, they are faster to put in place, but they typically squeeze the life out of your guitar. If you have a Kaiser capo and you can just sit there and squeeze it for a while, kind of wear out that spring that's in there. If you can wear out the spring and loosen it up, Kaiser capos can be great, but a brand new Kaiser capo is so strong, I feel like it just really puts your guitar out of tune unnecessarily. Last but not least, I have the Primetone picks from Dunlop. This is a 0.88. It's probably the thickest that I would go personally when I'm using a pick. If I'm strumming an acoustic guitar, I don't really need anything heavier than a 0.88 millimeter. If it's 1 millimeter or heavier, I'm typically using that with a bass guitar, or I might be playing lead on an electric guitar. It just has a warmer quality, I guess, when it comes to picks. I can definitely notice a difference when it comes to picking. When you're using a pick and it is flimsy, like I've had the Fender medium picks, I use those live in a pinch, but what happens is they just break all over the place. They're just way too thin. So even my light strumming ends up wearing away the picks. These picks, what I really like is that they hold up over time. You're not going to notice any chunks missing out of them. They're thick enough to get the job done, but they also have this rounded edge so that they're not just brittle in your hands. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons before you leave. I want to thank you for watching this video. Check out these videos that YouTube is recommending just over my shoulder here. My name is Chris Green, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.